Well, we're almost a year into Battle for Azeroth. It's been a pretty eventful one, to say the least. It's been one that's left people with many questions regarding the direction of World of Warcraft and Blizzard. When will the patches come out? What will they contain? What will the next expansion be? And what is the crack with Blizzard's upcoming product slate? Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Warcraft video. So, the dust has settled on the launch of 8.2, and I think that means we're in a great position to talk about what the future is going to hold for us as WoW players and also people who are interested in Blizzard. So, we're going to cover the next year of Blizz, what's going to happen with Warcraft, and what's going to happen with the company's other games and IPs. One thing's for certain, it's going to be a pretty wild time, with Legion taking WoW's lore to, I guess, sort of anime places, and BfA doing what BfA has done so far. Even for World of Warcraft itself, we're very soon going to see what will dictate the next few years of the game and really the direction of the franchise. So there's a lot to get into. Sadly though, literally scrying into the future isn't possible, but today you will learn how to bend the future to your will through the power of Skillshare, today's sponsor, who are giving you 2 months of their already affordable $10 per month service for absolutely free if you click my link. So how are we going to bend time to our will? Well, by being a master of productivity through Productivity Masterclass by popular YouTuber Thomas Frank. It is the single best course on the topic, leaving you with an actionable plan of how to tackle tomorrow. And hey, if you heard our last Skillshare slot, then you'd already have the perfect cup of coffee to go along with your shiny new plan. Skillshare are an online learning community with over 30,000 courses, and you can get that tasty 2-month free trial using my link down below. Just think about it, you can learn a lot in 60 days. So, check them out. A big thank you to Skillshare for supporting this channel, and let's get into the video. Okay, first up, the BlizzCon 2018 that actually happened is pretty darn different from the one that was actually planned at one point. And while Blizzard were somehow surprised by the backlash that they received for only having a mobile game as the major announcement, many things do point towards that not being their original plans. And it's really worth covering that because it impacts our next year's predictions. Now, based on Kotaku's reporting and my own sources, Diablo 4 was part of the plan for BlizzCon 2018 until relatively late in the day. That much is pretty clear given the reporting on the subject, I believe. And then also there is the case of Overwatch 2, a PvE game that I hear at one point was supposed to be a 2018 announcement, but was pushed back a good bit earlier on. Supposedly, it was being held back in terms of development by dev time being slurped up by another action shooter project. Well, we recently, of course, heard from Jason Schreier's reporting of the cancelled StarCraft shooter, with its team moving over to more surefire projects. Indeed, apparently a mobile game was also cancelled for the same reason. And all of this points towards Overwatch 2 development progress increasing in speed because the project would be getting more development resources. So to me, it's pretty clear why BlizzCon 2018 went south. But from that, we can infer what Blizzard are doing. And indeed, it's what a lot of the corporate end of Activision Blizzard has said they're doing. They're doubling down on their more solid bet games with a focus on actually shipping product. Now, as that was happening, World of Warcraft continued to struggle as Battle for Azeroth's problems revealed themselves to players. But fast forward to the current day, over half a year past that point, and patch 8.2 has just released. With Ashara's defeat, Blizzard have teased the next big enemy in a cinematic that did just stop just short of giving us a full patch 8.3 reveal. And over the last 2 years, WoW has been teasing a hell of a lot more. The light having an evil side, Void having a good side, the interplay between life and death in the Warcraft universe, and then more recently, the larger developments with the dragon lore. So with the raid cleared, that's it for patch 8.2 until the rest of the story happens as people move through their Heart of Azeroth progression, and really that means it's time to predict the future. Legion put Gamescom on the radar as a convention for WoW fans because it was announced, but Blizzard have announced that they will not have a major presence at Gamescom this year. I'm going to be there for game dev reasons, so it's a bit sad that Blizz won't be there and I won't get to see their big cool stall, but that does mean that we won't hear anything major from the company till next BlizzCon. But that does not mean that World of Warcraft will be quiet. Indeed, far from it. Okay, here's some dates for you. Patch 8.1.5 was released on the 12th of March 2019, with 8.2 being revealed through a dev stream on the 11th of April and it hitting PTR on the 16th of April. So, put simply, PTR kicked off a month after the 8.1.5 release for 8.2. Now, applying those timelines to our current situation, and we'll have patch 8.2.5 hitting the PTR about the end of July, maybe very early August. Now, by that stage, the the world first race will be over, and the most active players, they'll have their Pathfinder, and basically they'll have completed most of the 8.2 content, and that'll mean it'll be a fantastic time for Blizzard to whet people's appetite and release a bit more info for the game. So yes, that means our next major news milestone is just around the corner. Now, 8.2.5 is going to be, I believe, quite large, as I covered in last week's video. Given the hanging plot threads of the Horde Rebellion and N'Zoth, it's going to have to set up a lot of things, it's going to have to resolve the more immediate things, and also just give us some hints for the more far-flung plot lines. So it could be a resolution of the faction conflict and a setup of the actual battle for Azeroth, us versus N'Zoth. It could be teasing the Dragon Isles. It could be revealing them as an 8.3 zone. Either way, these plot threads are likely to all receive attention, especially the faction rebellion. This, after all, will be the patch that sets up the patch that will prompt the next expansion, and it will reveal lore that essentially will define the next few years of the game moving forward. So with that hitting PTR in the next 3 weeks and nothing happening at Gamescom, what's next for Blizz? Well, presumably the release of patch 8.2.5. Now, 8.1 launched on December 11th, while 8.1.5 launched on March 12th, so if 8.2.5 is following the Legion timings of patches, it'll launch about the 10th of September, but if it's following BfA timings, maybe more late September or very early October. Now, its war campaign, of course, will see Thalyssra and Lor'themar probably join up with Bane, Thrall, and Sarfang. We'll probably see Vol'jin's Spirit return. We'll maybe get a bit more of our good friend Bom Samedi. It will likely cover the teased plotline originally of Thrall traveling around with Vol'jin's ashes. Of course, that didn't happen in 8.0, and just generally, they'll need to follow up on the Vol'jin plotline because that has lingered for a little while. Date-wise, I think this is all going to go down a month before BlizzCon. Even if Blizzard do a little content gating, chances are it'll all be out before the con, leaving us quite clear to discuss the future of World of Warcraft. Alright, so BlizzCon then. BlizzCon 2019 takes place on Friday the 1st of November, and it's going to be one of the largest ones yet. And look, Blizz have had a rough year. Stagnant projects, slow development, morale destroying, layoffs, cancelled projects, and that's all off the back of, well, 2018 being pretty rough. They had a PR thrashing. BlizzCon 2019 is their big chance to turn this boat around, and I think they're going to go all out. Nothing is confirmed, of course, the announcements have not happened, but if Diablo 4 was planned for BlizzCon 2018 and Overwatch 2 at one point was planned for BlizzCon 2018, let's be real, there's a good chance we'll see both be announced. At the very least, one of them will be, and if there is to be one, it would be Diablo 4. It's harder to tell with Overwatch 2 because we do know less about that project, although it's fairly possible that it could be mentioned. So, potentially both, definitely one. But what about World of Warcraft? Well, I think that's where things get a bit more interesting because of the dates. World of Warcraft expansions tend to be announced 2 years apart, like clockwork, but something has happened this time that's not happened in quite a while. It seems like the next expansion will be revealed before we've got our hands on the current expansion's final patch. Pretty wild, a bit awkward, isn't it? But there's not much else that Blizz can do because the next viable announcement date would be what, Gamescom 2020? Now the thing is, Legion released August 16, BfA released August 18. Their plan seems to be to just have an expansion every 2 years and have decently, spread out patch coverage during the expansions. Now, taking all of this into account and the fact that they will need a robust beta testing period, and I think we are locked into a BlizzCon announcement this year. Now, this is not the first time a situation like this has happened, far from it. If you look back into the past, Cataclysm was announced before patch 3.3 released. Mists of Pandaria was announced before patch 4.3 was released. So it doesn't seem too crazy that WoW's next expansion will be unveiled before 8.3 is released. Now, given the likely timings of patch 8.2.5 though, one has to wonder, when will 8.3 be announced? Now that really is the big question. Will we have a developer announcement stream like what we got for 8.2, maybe a week or 2 or 3 before BlizzCon, and then have BlizzCon be focusing on the new expansion? That could make some sense, but there might be a bit of a problem here. The next expansion is going to be seen to be moving away from the problems of Battle for Azeroth. Now that might be counter to, say, the marketing of patch 8.3, which still will be Battle for Azeroth. Like 8.2, I think it will be Battle for Azeroth, but with a lot of really good improvements, but it still will be BfA. So that marketing might be a bit awkward for Blizzard, but I'm not really sure what else they can do, and generally I imagine they just want as much WoW hype as possible, and if people are hyped for 9.0, they'll probably try 8.3. Now, this is especially challenging for Blizz because of how WoW's storytelling is very different these days. You see, Deathwing and Arthas were disconnected. Deathwing and Pandas, disconnected. But in modern WoW, the expansions flow into each other a lot more directly. The end of WoD led us straight into Legion, the end of Legion straight into BfA. So it could be that knowing the next expansion would spoil elements of the patch 8.3 storyline. Now, you might be wondering, why is this predicament arose? Well, as I covered in a video a while back, in terms of relative timings, patch 8.2 is closer to the timing of Legion 7.3. I mean, yeah, it's a bit wild, but Blizz are months behind schedule. Now, in order to get a better handle of this, let's just work out a likely 8.3 release. So, assuming Legion timings of 77 days and a late September 8.2.5 release, we're looking at like December 10th release date, which is almost the same, oddly enough, as patch 8.1, and say, for a direct comparison, Cataclysm's 8.3 or Wrath's 3.3. Ultimately, there's no two ways about it. Blizzard are going to have to spoil a little bit of patch 8.3 in order to reveal the next expansion. Although it is worth noting that by the time BlizzCon rolls around, chances are 8.3 will be there on the PTR. It will be data mined. A lot of the info will be out. So the marketing messages might be a bit confusing, but I think one thing is for certain. I'll be pretty busy. It'll be a hectic time for WoW content creation, and that probably means a lot of people will have a lot of things to talk about, and World of Warcraft as a general interest topic will probably be at a peak. In terms of sidestepping the awkwardness, maybe Blizzard could have it so the next expansion doesn't directly follow on from Battle for Azeroth. Maybe Battle for Azeroth is setting up the 10.0 looming threat, and maybe 9.0 is very much us doing something else. To be honest, I wouldn't mind a bit of a fresh break, but yes, an expansion reveal at BlizzCon, plus a big tease of 8.3, which I think will likely come out a month after BlizzCon, and Blizzard probably starting Season 4 of Battle for Azeroth after the holidays, so in 2020. I think Blizzard will likely want the next expansion to launch around August 2020, but it could be bumped a month or two because of their development issues. Now, combine that with how they seemingly are aware that BfA beta really bit them in the ass, and I think they're going to be wanting to do a robust beta testing process, so they'll want that really as early into 2020 as they can possibly do it. Now, they may do an 8.3.5 patch, but I do imagine it will be quite small, meaning that the live version of World of Warcraft will be left in its 8.3 state for quite a while. Although, in fairness, a January to August wait that also has, a pre-patch and all of that stuff, well, that would be a shorter final patch to next expansion gap than really any time in recent memory. It actually could be that the initial patch delays of Battle for Azeroth will have ended up giving us a more evenly spaced out expansion. So there you go, that's the next year of World of Warcraft. If Blizzard managed to create a more evenly spread out patch cycle, then between that, the existence of Classic and the 9.0 beta, World of Warcraft as a just topic for people to be interested in, as where stuff's happening, it's not going to experience much of a lull. Certainly a smaller lull than Mists of Pandaria to Warlords of Draenor transition, which, I mean, man, doing content for that was a real slog. But there you go, I think it's going to be an action-packed year. Now, there is one assumption that I'm making here, that WoW Classic will not impact the timings of Live, because of course it is true they're made by separate teams, but it's also possible that Blizzard will use the phases of Classic to buy a little bit more time for the Live development team, and that could slow things down a little bit. As for the other things, well, for Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2, I expect them to come out anywhere between 9 months and 2 years after their announcements. We do know that Blizzard feel burned in the past by announcing projects too early, so I think more than ever we're going to hear about these two games relatively close to their launch dates when a lot of their development is kind of locked in and done. Diablo 4's first incarnation died in 2016, and that does mean that its second version will have been in development for nearly 3 years now, making a 2020, maybe a late 2020 release window seem a little bit more feasible. Maybe Overwatch 2 will be like 2021 or something like that. But anyway, there you go. I think that's what's going to happen with the next year of Blizzard Entertainment. I think it's going to be an interesting time, especially seeing how they deal with this next expansion reveal and the design intent that will be driving it. So there you go. I really enjoyed making this video. I just doing these hypotheticals, getting the calendar out, working out the relative dates. That's all a lot of fun to me. So I'd love to hear, what are you looking forward to in Blizzard's future lineup? What are you concerned about? What do you think they're going to do? And do you think I'm on the money here, or do you think I am totally wrong? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching this video. And with that, I will see you next time.